This. Okay, we're back in session here. So now, number 3 is to present an update on the 2011-2016 some SPOS programs. And okay, sorry, Erica.
No, that's fine. Good afternoon. We would like to present the quarterly, and this would first calendar year for 2019 SPOS update. And all the departments are here to present. So if facilities would like to start.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. Property. Let's get going here. Whoop, there we go. All right, property's working with right at $131 million. To date, we have spent or have encumbered 71 of that 131 million. If you break that down to the facility and restoration, that we have spent 4.5 million of this. So today, staff, to get to this point, has put a lot of work in getting this money encumbered or spent. To look at some of the projects we got going with public safety, we're looking at the police fire training facility, the new police fire training. We're looking at the new police headquarters. We're in the planning stages. The 1st of February, we'll be coming back to the board to get the architectural put out to bid for the police training facility. 2 fire stations. We got the 18. We're wrapping it up. We got some minor work we got to finish up there, and of course we've started Station 1. Renovations, some small work. We're doing some fitness centers for the fire department, fencing around some of the police fire combinations, and those locations are at East and West Cobb. Judicial, Magistrate Court. They've moved in. We've got them finished. We just got to do some punch work. Superior Court 4th floor, the law library. That big issue we had with people being able to get to the law library is over. The law library is open today, so if you go to the 4th floor Superior Court, you can go to the new law library. It is open for business. State court security renovations, we're still working over there. That's some small work going on. And all the renovations at 10 East Park are completed. We got the punch list over. That was child support. That was a big accomplishment there for them. Public services, the North Cobb Regional Library is underway. If you've not been up that way, they've got the building up. The steel is going up. They've got the roof on as well. Schweitzer Library, we're in the planning stages of that right now. And then some small jobs with the library systems. We're working or finished up West Cobb Regional, and we're working on South Cobb Regional.
When is the North Cobb Library supposed to be done?
This summer. Yes, sir.
This
I would
summer?
say August.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
sir.
Wow, great.
As far as other facilities that don't fit inside public safety, don't fit inside the library system, you got the medical examiners. That one's we're meeting now with that bid went out, and that's in the designing stage right now. The data center, we've got that place located, and we're going to start working on that next month. Planning discussion underway with Fleet Car. We'd like to bring that to the board the end of February and get that project started. The sheriff's office is a small renovation. They're taking the space over that Magistrate Court moved out. So it's just a small job we're doing then. For some of the pictures here, this is just Fleet. It's a small job. If you don't know, if you've been out there before, where they weld on some of the equipment, it's always been out in the open. To the left here was before. To the right, we've now enclosed that for them, so they're not out in the cold anymore. We've got to get some heaters in place for them as well there. This, of course, is what we were talking about, some of the fitness centers we're working on. That's some of them buff firemen out there, but that is the fire department's space.
Is that Bill Volkman in the back with Buddy Taser? Or?
No.
Okay, now this is the North Cobb Regional Library. That was a earlier picture. If you went up there today, you're going to see the metal on top of the facility now, which is great. Station 1 is still sort of behind. The rain is holding them up. With the slab then, the roof going in, this will allow them to do a lot more up here at North Cobb. The rain's been really killing us. This is a law library. We did reuse some of the bookshelves, save some money, and some of the stuff was redone by the cabinet shop. But it looks good. Any questions?
Did you invite Amy Barnes to the law library opening? You should, seriously.
I don't have her
I'm
number.
sure she knows it's.
No, really, I'm, look, that lady,
I'm sure she knows.
she did.
She
Still,
should be able to
she's
cut
been
the ribbon.
advocating
She
for
put her heart into
accessibility
this.
of
I
it.
absolutely agree with you. We should
I
find
agree.
Amy and invite her to that.
Yeah.
You know, great example of civic involvement. So let's find her and make sure she gets, you know, she gets to see her work.
Yes,
You can take her on the tour.
okay.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you.
She knows it's done. She's
Well-
always on top of that.
Well, still, I'm gonna make sure. You dropped
Maybe she'll
something.
be here tonight, we'll tell her.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sharon,
Let's see, you can click for me.
my friend.
Okay. All right, on this
bud.
slide you've seen before, it just gives you the total numbers on the technology SPOST, the 30,079,000, and the division there between business technology and the data center build. Obligated so far, 3,488,521. That added another project in there, that's the Kronos project for the upgrade of the time and attendance system for the county. A partial on that, we'll talk a little bit about that as we get further on the slide. The data center, you've seen this slide before. These are things we've had to do before we actually go into the data center build. The big one there is the firewalls. We were going to, the last time you saw this slide, the only change, we were planning to do that in December. We ran into some things that conflicted with some of our departments and agencies for customers because this is a little bit of a downtime, so we moved it to January. And we'll be doing that in January to upgrade the new firewalls. And while I'm on this one, I might as well say on the data center build, as Scott said, we have located a building that already exists we're going to use. So you'll be seeing probably within a month, maybe a month and a half, we'll bring to you the first part of that, which will be to find a technology consulting and program management partner with us to build that. And we are looking at several state of those that are on the state contract right now that are presenting to us to see which one will be that we'll be bringing to you. So, next slide. These are the projects in progress in the technology transformation area. Unified Court Case Management System, I'm not going to go over these one by one. We'll go over the new ones in their slide. If you go on to the projects that are completed, if you have any questions on any of those, you'll see several of them have phases where one phase has been completed. Two big ones on there.
Excuse me, Sharon, the dashboard, is that?
That is a business intelligence, business analysis click that we've got. What we've done is, I say that's completed, that is an enterprise tool that will never be out of the county. It's our enterprise tool, but as far as the SPOS portion of that, which was to stand it up and get it rolled out in some of the initial departments, that has been done. We have not rolled out a public-facing dashboard yet. Finance will be the first one we roll out. It's with finance, they're reviewing it right now. And once they like the dashboards and determine what, the view that will go public, that will go public
Okay.
probably fairly soon.
Okay.
So,
Right before the budget.
does that help? So, okay. This is the technology transformation portion of this. The numbers have changed a little bit on this slide, as you see. The business license, I want to, as you see the colors there, they indicate whether or not it's an estimate or it's a project we've actually already completed or a project that's underway with that. All right. A little bit on these Unified Court Case Management Systems, still have not selected a vendor. As I indicated at the last time we briefed this vendor selection, because this is such a large project and at a large dollar value, this is taking some time with all of the courts and all of the parties involved in the selection. We're currently still meeting as a group and evaluating vendors and having some of them answer some additional questions on that. Web portal, the initial phase has been rolled out. It has gone live. Some of the invoices still need to come in on that we haven't received some of the invoices yet. And then we have phase 2, which will be actually bringing back before the board, and that will integrate it with Active Directory so that employees can also, we can bring in ICOB into that, and we won't have a separate website for ICOB and a separate website for the directory with that, as well as the libraries are interested in coming in also. Okay?
There was a lot of problems. You and I have talked about it. Remember, we've scheduled
Yeah,
a
there's some,
meeting.
okay, so community development, I'll just say we're gonna get with community development upgrade. There is the zoning section of the web portal, needs to have some revamping, and it's harder to find some of the things in there. Part of it has to do with the fact that some of the information is not out there yet that people are looking for 19, and that's why it's not coming up. And the other part is some of the organization of it. We'll be working with, Michael and his team, to revamp the order, because we build what they ask us to build. So we will be working with them to make it easier to do searches on there. So and Commissioner, we'll bring you in yes, ma'am. What would you, I saw you roll your eyes. What would you like us to do besides rework
Go
it?
back to the old way where it lists all the zoning cases by number and district and description by clicking on a link.
And we'll come,
You have to go
Right.
through too many departments and clicks and steps to get to zoning, and then it's not the final, it says it's the final analysis, but it's not all the cases
the
listed.
final analysis is not out there on all of them yet. That's part of the reason.
Well, it should be for February, because the planning commission is
No,
the
ma'am.
first
I'll let
Tuesday.
Pam address it. It's not.
And I'll just say what John is working on, what he used in the past was not something that we could back up. It wasn't secure. So he is working to make that process better. So what he's got out there is something that's a work in progress. And as he gets the items loaded, then people can see them. The problem that we're seeing right now, if he's already loaded, and I'm just using for an instance, say LUP 12, and he hasn't loaded anything in it, it looks empty. So that's one of the things that Sharon is going to be talking with him about. How can we put something forward facing so the public understands that the information is coming, is not just missing. So that's something that we've got to work through.
So we'll get with ComDev and we'll work with them to get, I understand we need to make it
It's
easier
gonna,
to find
ultimately,
it.
it's gonna end up, what we talked about on the IS side is, ultimately, it's gonna end up with, is there's gonna be a folder, so you use the LUP, whatever numbers, use 17. You're gonna see a folder that says LUP 17, and everything for that will be in one folder.
And it'll be listed.
There'll be the zoning analysis, there'll be stipulation letters, there'll be site plans, there'll be anything that has come in for that will be in one folder. We actually experimented with it and got it to work in SugarSync. And so conceptually, that works really well, having everything in a folder. It's just a matter of getting it all working on the web portal.
And it's not just zoning, it's hard to find anything in all the departments.
I concur, like, I used to be able to just do a Google search for a topic, or just go to that map that had everything listed by, its beginning letter. And so I find that if I try to do a Google search, because I couldn't type in that long address before, everything takes me to the home page. And then when I try to put the topic in the search engine, I don't always get the result for what I'm looking for. So it's like I can no longer find information on a topic.
If you could send us the specific ones, that would be a lot
Okay.
easier to do something with.
Sharon, and this,
Yeah.
we're supposed to have, you and I are supposed to have a meeting about this, but basically it's the entire navigating around the website.
Yeah.
It's not, you can't do it like you did before. Before, the easiest way to get around would go to the directory, and everything was listed there, and you click on that and it went to that site. Now, if I wanted, like, just a little while ago, I wanted to find the zoning analysis, I had to go to the homepage, community development, zoning.
We
and
are
then-
adding the directory back, if that's
Yeah.
what
That's the
we are.
directory you're
Mike
talking
has
about.
to build it because it didn't come with the web portal when the feedback said that wasn't the best way to do it, so the vendor recommended against it, so we're putting it back because we've got enough people that want the directory back.
But the basic complaint that
We're putting the directory back, so,
is navigating the
Yeah.
webpage is
Yes, sir.
The
very difficult.
MDJ,
yeah, so, yeah. Yeah, we're putting the directory back in there, so. Yeah, yeah. So we are putting a directory back in there that you can do it will do alphabetically, so.
A good point is that next time you do these beta tests, you might want to discuss it with the commissioners.
They did get the
Some.
view.
Some.
Okay.
Some.
The ones
I
that
know
did
you
get it. Whether
did.
they did it, I can't help it, but
I
they,
even
Yeah,
they
but
were,
sat
they
down
were
with the
provided to
Everybody,
them.
everybody was sent.
it's still.
Everybody was
Look.
provided the link,
Look,
okay?
we have people on this board where I could be their parents.
Yeah.
Right? I'm that old. All right, then we have some who just
Only
love to
one.
do this, because they just spend time
I
building
am the
GIS.
IS
maps.
commissioner.
And we will
Alright.
change it.
I'm
We
the
want it to
IS
be,
commissioner, I have
Alright,
to work
so-
with that.
right, we want it to be the
Come on.
best it can be. So we're trying to hit both all of our generations and all of our different level of skill set users. Some of them, we've gotten feedback, they
You're
love
gonna
it.
have to find an abacus then.
Some of them love it and some of them don't. So we're trying to make it so, like with the directory, we can handle people who like to do it both ways. Does that help? We'll get it
Look,
to where
look.
it does it.
I'm a hopeless case. I'm not asking for any help.
No, no, we'll get it.
But I am
We'll get it.
saying that-
No, yes, sir.
That these commissioners, they're very reluctant to say anything that adversely talks about the staff. So the fact that they would just bring this up goes to the heart, that this must really be important, because generally 99 out of 100 times, if not more, we support what you're doing. But I
Right.
think that the time is very valuable to the commissioners, because as you know, they're only part-time.
Yeah.
And they have all kinds of extra time to be doing stuff like this.
No, we definitely will. We'll work
Yeah.
with you. We've done that with all the departments, and that's why I said we already, before you even mentioned it this morning, I'd already got my team to get with ComDev, because I'd gotten 3 complaints. Anytime I get 2 or 3 complaints, I go look at it, and if I can't find it,
Well, I think
that's
zoning
not- yeah.
particularly is something that's very sensitive to
And
the board.
GIS.
yeah.
And I'm hearing from constituents too. It's not just the
Oh,
commissioners.
I know, that's,
are
I'm
having
getting
problems.
those. That's why I'm looking
All right,
at
well,
those
we've
too.
beaten you up enough
Yeah.
today.
It will help me, no, it will help me if you send these specific areas as we start rebuilding. It will. It's hard to say, because we've got people that say they like it, so if you tell me what's not right, we can fix it. So if you get those to me, that'd be great.
And I appreciate you, getting in front and taking one for Ross.
I don't mind. It's not Ross, actually. It's not Ross.
Because
I
it was
have a
Ross
website.
this morning and now it's you, so.
Yeah, I have the website. That's perfectly good. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. But no, that'd be perfectly good. We do want to make it better. So places where it's hard to use, we want to improve it. So certainly let us know. There are places where we'd like to.
Look, you do a wonderful job. People have no idea how difficult this new technology age is.
Yeah.
And
But,
your staff, I tell you, people must think we have 1,000 people that work in your shop because of what you do and your staff, so.
But no, we appreciate it. We do want it to be the best it can
I
be.
know
So we will just get them to us and we'll fix them. So we do want to do that. GIS upgrades, this is another one where the first phase,
You a consultant?
where the first phase is complete. Really cool stuff out there. If you look at the next slide, you'll see this is the dashboard with Waves that actually is a large part of what we can do based on the big data section that we've already delivered, and they are over at DOT already working on phase 2 of the GIS big data upgrade, so more things to come on that. Next slide is also some of the big data GIS DOT collaboration where we've done some pedestrian studies, where they can see the actual live pedestrian movement. And then Sheriff Offender Management System, this one is pretty much, if you look, the only thing different on this slide from your last time is the timeline. Looking at spring of 2019, when that will be complete. If you remember, that was 2 things. It was an upgrade to the old system as well as making it redundant. The system was not redundant before, so. Business license, this is a new one. I want to talk about it just a little bit. If you remember, we have worked with Dana and when he was here, and now Michael, and the Community Development Agency, along, Commissioner, you tasked us to go look at replacing the current Acela business license system, which does not have the capability to interface with our finance system. So it makes it very difficult when we try to talk about money in one system that's not really built for finance. It's built more to track business licenses. So we've been looking at systems. There were 7 vendors that responded. They're very close to selecting a vendor. And then that project will kick off. So,
The one thing I continue
sir.
to hear complaints about, and I know you couldn't do it in Acela, but when people turn in, you know what I'm going to say, right?
I already know.
When
It's
they
one of the
turn in
requirements we put in the
documents,
new one.
we need to be able to keep the documents from one
Yeah.
year to the next, so
Yeah.
they don't have to continue to turn in,
Yeah.
well, yeah, for the renewals. I mean, if nothing's changed,
Yeah, it's
it
one of the
should be, one click.
Yes, sir.
and
It's one of
done.
the requirements we put out for the new one, that anywhere where we legally could do that, there are instances where we cannot per ComDev and Dana, unless it changes from the state, where we can't we have to ask for a new one, even if we have the old one. But anywhere where we can, we plan to do that.
Right, but for example, like the one that keeps coming up is the citizenship, whatever, certification, that's notarized. That doesn't change. Now, I mean, I realize that, the E-Verify and some of those other things we may have to get each year, but, if we verify that somebody's a citizen this year,
Right.
unless the state requires it, we don't need to be
No, where
requiring
that
that
gets
again.
complicated, and there's a way to check that. Where it gets complicated, if Mr. Smith from that company sent it in with his citizenship this in 18, and John Doe sent it in with a request next year for the same company, that we don't have his
Oh, yeah,
citizenship.
no,
on
I'm
file.
not saying if something like that happens, but if the same person,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's really more
I
these,
agree.
these
I agree.
small businesses that have like a
agree.
single proprietor.
Yep.
And I mean, if that doesn't change,
Yeah.
we need to minimize the amount of
Yeah,
documentation
software's
there.
got to be smart enough to be able to tell if it's the same name.
Right.
So I agree. I agree. And that's some of the requirements we put in there for the new business system. So, and we'll be bringing it, of course, back with everybody to kind of take a play at it as we build it too, to see if it's what we're looking for. Next slide. And the next other new one is Kronos. Our time and attendance system is really old, that we have in there. The software is no longer supportable, or it's actually outdated, and it actually makes other applications that interface with it. We can't upgrade them because that software is not capable of being upgraded, and as well as the hardware that's out of support. So this is the first of part of a larger project where we've replaced those we've had to replace. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and the one thing on this, I know that JD, we deal with this over at the stadium, is overtime, and also when public safety or police officers, and I know Sam's very familiar with this, when they switch from one role to the next, or the time changes, Kronos right now can't keep track of that, and so JD's having to do it manually.
Right,
We
have
need to
very
make sure
old
that the
versions on
system
there right now.
can do that.
Yeah, we have a very old version.
And does that also reflect the discussions we had with Home Depot about how they're using to track their part-time people so we can more efficiently use our part-time?
Yes, I believe there's excuse me, in this newest version, Chairman, there is a forecasting or a needs analysis function that I think Sharon would just have to work with us to
It is.
make sure we knew how to activate it and turn it on and use it properly.
And understand this part is just the first phase, and the first phase just brings it to the new version of the software and new hardware, and then we have to bring forward an upgrade. That's more than just the basic, it's actually upgrading what we do with it.
But I do think, Chairman, that the guts of it now will support all these
That's what it
add-on
is,
modules that can help us.
Yeah.
And that was
It wouldn't
one
do it right
that,
now,
All right,
so.
okay.
Okay. The facilities improvement for the security and cameras. On this, the new things on this are just that we did qualify the 3 vendors, pre-qualified vendors on the master service agreements are signed now with those vendors, which basically speeds up projects as we go, but still keeps us where we get a competitive bid for those. And then 2 new projects were approved, and we've actually started getting estimates from all those vendors on those so that we can, have gotten estimates on those and are beginning to get schedules from those vendors with that. The next page, you'll look and you'll see projects that are completed that, in that building security area. And then I'll talk a little bit, I know that we are expended, we've got several that are getting ready to kick off, and my projects are kind of limited by how much staff. If you see, we just completed a bunch that we kicked off at the first, a year ago when SPLOST started. Now we actually have several more that are still running, but we're gonna bring in, we've got funding in there in SPLOST for a fleet management system to replace the current one, which is aging and old. That'll be kicking off, and we'll be bringing it back to the board soon to put an RFP out on the street for that, as well as a CRM, which is a 3-in-1 workflow type thing, which we'll be working with DOT to bring something in to replace the system they've currently got, to try to see a single version of all tickets in the county, no matter what system people are using.
So we're gonna have like some sort of Starship command post? Is that the plan here?
Something like that.
Okay, I must be close to the truth with that smile.
And that's all I have. Do you have any questions on the presentation?
Great job, you and your staff,
sir.
really, Sharon, they do
Okay,
magnificent
great.
work.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, or is it evening yet? No, afternoon.
We'll be here all night, too.
We haven't done your budget yet, Sam.
That's right. Let's remember
Third,
the
number
message
4.
from yesterday at MLK
Yes.
event of
It was
unity
always
and
there.
love and, you know, so.
Okay, adios.
So we'll get started on the public safety. The first one I'll touch on is the 2011 remaining funds. And in October of last year, the board did approve some additional funding or some extra funding that was left over in the remaining 2011 for the fire department, particularly on their facilities and equipment outlay. And so that has been done. On our 2016 SPLOST, the next is the list of the projects and the amount that was budgeted for each one of those. And we're right on course, if you will. Some of our completed projects are the new radios and police cars, 167 police vehicles, fire station alerting software. All of these are completed projects. 2 animal services vans, 2 police crime scene units, and then our South Cobb substation, which will be housing our community affairs folks for the police department. Camp Highlands radio tower is completed. The weather sirens have all been upgraded now, and our animal services incinerator is all completed. Other projects completed is our mobile command vehicle and our airport firefighting unit. And the projects you touched on a little bit with property management, except for fire station the Mystic 29 that, oh, I know. Some of the firefighters already have the logo as a unicorn because it's a Mystic. Is it really going to happen? But the, also as Scott had brought up, Fire Station 1 in Mapleton, on Mapleton Parkway is underway, but has been delayed quite a bit from rain. Fire Station 7 at Hurton Hicks Road is in design phase. And then as Scott also mentioned, we have completed the purchase of the police headquarters and the training center, the property out on the east-west connector. Projects that we are still working on is the mile marker 281 radio tower and the Austell area tower. Both of those have been approved by the board, and we're working through 800 megahertz to get those completed. And then also the police precinct renovations that Scott had touched on, whether it's office space or fitness centers or security fencing and the new AV equipment, all working in conjunction with property management to complete those. So down and dirty, short and quick. There you go, sir. Any questions? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Manager. We're here to go over the Parks program. We'll start with the 2011 SPLOST. We had a budget of around 87 million, of which we have about 4.3 remaining. We've only got 1 or 2 projects underway right now, but our plan is to finish up the 11 program this year after meeting with the district commissioners. The first project in the 11 that we have a picture of is over at Milford Park. This is a park that the county acquired in 2004 from the association, so we're still having to catch it up to bring it up to standards. But we're constructing a maintenance building and then a score stand storage building. Friedman is the designer here. It's a local engineering firm. And then Trident Building Solutions is doing both the buildings for $139,000. And the second picture is actually the slab is going in. We hope to have that in before the season starts here in just several weeks. For the 16 program, we had 76.2 million, of which we have 28.9 remaining. Some of the major projects left. We had the IGA underway with Kennesaw to convey their money. We have the Osborne Rec Center and a couple of other major projects, but we've completed 58% and with construction at 15%. The first project in the 16 program is Green Meadows Preserve. Our scope was to create a dedicated entrance exit that's a lot safer than coming off of Dallas Highway. It's coming in off Old Hamilton Road now. Expand the parking lot and construct a pavilion. This aerial photo, that's Dallas Highway going across the bottom of the slide, and then that's Old Hamilton heading out toward Oregon Park down the right side. Instead of trying to slow down at an intersection there and then turn in the loop, in working with DOT, they recommended us going down and aligning with that back road that cuts around by Belks and the Dairy Queen. So now to enter the parking lot for the community garden and for the park, you'll go up that way and then come down into the park. It'll be much safer for our folks trying to get off of Dallas Highway. This is another part of that program. The house on the property, which a lot of folks thought that we were starting to move, but we're not moving. We're just renovating it. We're trying to get it back to the vintage 1830s and 1890s era. There were improvements done to the house various times throughout the last couple of hundred years. So we're in the process now of gutting it out and turning it into more of like a museum where it'll be outfitted with period furniture. We'll be able to give tours in that building. As you can see, they had termites back in the 1800s as well. The entire west side of the house had to come down, and Leatherwood Construction is in the process of putting that back up now. It's truly going to be a very nice project when it's done. Mabry Park, if it would ever stop raining, we could finish this up in a few weeks, but it seems like every time it dries up enough, we get another couple inches of rain. But it's got the entrance roadway, parking lot. Once again, we use pervious concrete like we did out at Green Meadows Preserve, with a restroom maintenance building, playground, community garden, and trails. This is an aerial here that shows you're coming in from Wesley Chapel. On the left-hand side of the screen right there is where the road comes down into the property. You'll dead end into the concession restroom building, large playground, picnic pavilions with grills, community garden. You can see on the upper right-hand corner, there's a boardwalk that crosses a creek going over into the meadows. We feel like it's going to be a super nice park for that area of the county. Mabel House Amphitheater, we're expanding the seating. Currently, there are seats underneath the cover, but then there was a real steep hill that if you really didn't bring some ties to tie yourself down, by the end of the show, you might be down at the bottom because it was so steep. We've come in and put in tiered seating, just like you'll see at the Sewell Mill Library and Cultural Center. It'll be wide enough for you to bring your lawn chair, a TV tray, and still have room for people to walk by in front of you. It'll have synthetic turf on the front of it. While it's only going to slightly increase the capacity of the facility, it'll allow us to sell numbered seats instead of just lawn seating at a very discounted price. So we're really looking forward to what that can do for our program, as well as all the promoters. They're really excited as well. Here's an aerial of it. We have a target of March, into March being done with this. Nothing's happened so far. That makes us think we can't do that. So we're excited about that as well. Here's a few other little things. I mentioned the Kennesaw Joint Project. The park system signage and wayfinding kicks off next week. Old Clarkdale, we have an RFQ out for engineering now. Mountain View Community Center parking, with the sale of the school, we were down to 8 parking spaces for the community center. So we're looking to place some additional parking in there. Discovery Boulevard property, we have received that contract now, and the engineering design kickoff is in a couple of weeks. And then tonight, we'll be asking for your approval on additional parking at Nickajack. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. The sidewalk that goes to the Discovery Boulevard Park, is that coming through the park funding, or is that through DOT?
Well, rumor has it that it's through DOT, but we might have to talk to Eric on that one.
All right, thank you.
The floor. Yeah.
I'm just going to put a plug here for us to come together as one in the spirit of MLK to see what we can do about sidewalk funding across the county. It just seems like our dollars are so limited for it.
Well,
Come on, smile. It could break a smile,
no.
Commissioner Ott.
No, I was actually, the
We
reason I
need
was-
more sidewalks.
is that I was noticing in a document that was signed in February of 2016, there was an additional $2 million put into SPLOST for sidewalks.
Do you know Howard Sidewalk 2 million?
I know.
Exactly.
I'm just.
I'm sorry, thank you, Chairman. I should be grateful for whatever I receive, so
No,
thank
but
you.
I think your point's well made. And I think that as we start looking at SPOS, because I think we're gonna get more revenue from that, that's
Yes.
something we can bring back on the table. Right?
Yes,
And-
okay.
And you're not the only one who feels that way, trust me. So I know from several of the commissioners here, they feel the same way. They all have sidewalk issues on their radar. And I'm feeling very confident that SPOS not only will bring in more revenue, but also the rules allow us to apply it back once we've taken care of all the major programs under Tier 1. Thank you, Erica. All right, so you got the floor now for DOT.
Yes, sir. So we'll start with our 2011 SPOS, and we had 208 transportation projects identified, and we're pretty close to being complete. We have, I think, 4 projects in design and 7 that are in the construction phase. So we should be wrapping that up fairly soon, project-wise. Projects in the pre-construction phase are Gordon Combs, McCullum Parkway, Lower Roswell, and Woodlawn. And then these next 7 are the ones that are in construction.
We need to put priority on those sidewalks on Woodlawn.
They don't go to your house.
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't even know it was in the budget. I think they put that there intentionally to get my attention. I'll bet you do, Commissioner Rott. I'm sorry, Erica.
That's fine. So this is our first project that we wanted to highlight, which is Riverview Road. That should be coming out for approval for construction this spring. The next project is, project highlights are Sandy Plains Road. And that project is in construction and should be completed, fingers crossed, fall of 2019. It's been a long project, so. And then our 2016 SPLOST. So this project, this SPLOST, we had 210 transportation projects that have been identified. And I just wanted to point out that we have 2 bar charts up here. One's actuals and one's planned. So we're actually, I wouldn't say really far ahead, but we're trucking it along. So we're trying to stay in front of and stay on schedule on our 2016 SPLOST. So currently we have 70 projects that are in the design phase and 28 that are in construction. And you can see where they're at within the county. And then if you'll just skip through these, this is the 70 projects that we actually have in design. And then the highlighted ones are the ones that we'll bring forward for your attention. And then the next one are our construction projects that are, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Okay.
Hey, Erica, do you still have that picture you showed me a little while ago in the back right?
Which one?
You have that piece of equipment in your,
Oh, it's back in my bag.
yeah, go get it while he's reading the list.
Okay.
We'll show him what he really wants to
Well,
buy.
I'm not the only one reading the list, Commissioner.
No, we have something that we want you to buy.
Okay, just
We're
want
going to
to
show
make
you
sure all the
now.
commissioners, 70 is a lot of projects. That's a lot of moving parts for this county. Yeah. There you go.
Your projects that's in the pre-construction phase, Erica, which is the bike ped plan, phase 1,
I'm sorry, ma'am.
that's okay. Is this just work that's being done on the plan, or is this actual execution of a plan?
Wait,
For
is it
number
one particular
34.
project? I'm sorry.
If we go back one more, it says bicycle and improvement, bicycle and pedestrian improvement plan update phase 1.
So we are almost finalized with that. We'll be bringing that forward for y'all to review soon.
Oh, this is the document itself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And these are the ones actually in construction.
Yes, sir.
And how many are there?
There's 40.
40? Okay. So one more, give or take. And why are the ones that are
28.
bold highlighted?
So those are the ones that we have the little bit of information
Oh,
on.
okay, all right, gotcha. All right.
So this project that we're highlighting that's in design right now is the Lost Mountain Road at Midway Road, Mirror Lake Drive in District 1. We hope to go to construction spring of 2019, and it'll be a year to year and a half for construction on this project.
And what are we doing on Lost Mountain, down that one?
We're lining the
Widening
side
it?
roads.
And a signal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see what you're doing. All right, gotcha.
Yes, sir. And then this is Windy Hill Terrell Mill. We're hoping to go to construction or let the project in August of this year. It'll probably be it'll be a 2-year construction probably on this project. And then this is in District 4. This is the I-20 eastbound ramps at Riverside Parkway, and this is a realignment also of the side road. And it'll be a lot better configuration at that intersection. This is New Macklin Road. This is in front of McEachern High School, and this is some pedestrian improvements. We've worked with the school board on this one also, and we're hoping to go to construction in fall of 2019. And then we have Favorite Windy Hill, which is also another school board. We're working with the school board on this project also, and this one we're hoping to go to construction pretty soon, spring of 2019. Then we have, this one's in construction. This is Macedonia Road over Noses Creek, and it should be completed this spring. Next we have in Commissioner Burrows District, Westside Drive. This is adjacent to Chattahoochee Tech, and we're in construction now, and we're hoping to have it completed summer of 2019. Then we have in District 1, Old Highway 41 Main Street. This is a joint project with City of Ackworth. And we hope to have this one completed fall of 2019. And then we have John Ward Road at Irwin Road, which we are substantially complete in this project. And then here's some resurfacing information. So in 2011, we resurfaced 1,407 roads, which was around 467 miles. In 2016 to date, through December of 2018, we completed 8 contracts, which was 471 roads with 168 miles. And then this is what we're expected to do this year. So our LMIG contract is going to be around $10 million, which 5 of that is going to be DOT. We're hoping to let in March of 2019, and then our local roads north and south, we're hoping to let in February of 2019. And then this is what we expect during this quarter. We hope to complete 14 projects, 14 construction starts, and 8 designs. And then this I thought was just pretty interesting. As much work as we're doing, we have 45 projects that we expect to be let to construction this calendar year, which is around $80 million. And these are the types of projects, which will be the 3 resurfacing, 9 drainage projects, 5 bridge projects, 5 roadway improvement projects, 6 intersection improvement projects, 14 pedestrian improvement projects, and 3 school zone improvement projects.
And we have one more thing to show you. This piece of equipment cleans out drains or can clean out flooded. This is what we had to use to clean up Collins Drive, and it basically cleaned out storm drains. And the one we have is 12 years old.
Yes, sir.
Very prone to failures. So you will see it in future asks.
I'm sure it will be.
It's used a lot in the county, and it might have helped down in South Cobb too.
We would have needed a much bigger truck for that issue in South Cobb. Well, that's interesting. You're not allowed to drive that, right? Okay, just checking here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just keep him away from that.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't have a CDL, does it?
Wow,
Just a pilot's license.
it's like a 6-month training program to run all those gauges. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you.
Okay, now I know a lot of the commissioners have some of the programs here, but here's the challenge that I face. Yeah, I could put off what Sam's gonna propose here for next month, and we'll have the same issue. That's because we have so much going on in the county here that by delaying it, I just add to the burden next month and we have the same issue. So those that have to run, I understand that. We'll make sure you get the presentation. But since Sam is here with his team, I'm gonna let him come up here and give his presentation, which is the last one today. And I've seen the presentation, it's really not all that long, it's pretty straightforward.
No,
Right.
should. And Chairman, as we did in your office, I will go through it. Please stop me at any time for any questions. But what I was asked to do is give a budget presentation of a little bit about what we've just done, and then more importantly, what we see as required needs coming up in 2020. So first of all, I have put, I'm not going to read each one of these mission statements, but I'll put each one of them, I'll give you time to read through. And each department, I'll give a little bit of information, both in the mission statement and in the org chart, and then we'll talk about the budget piece of it, so. Are you timing those? Okay, you're good. And Department of Public Safety, I have the Director of Public Safety and then an executive assistant. We have a business manager, executive officer, which is a fire captain, and executive officer, which is a police captain. And our business managers over our personnel, HR personnel unit and supply unit. Executive officer over the DPS facility, and executive officer for PD is over our communications coordinator. And then, of course, our department heads of EMA, emergency 911, 800 megahertz, our police department, and then fire department. And then also under public safety is internal affairs, our animal services, and our DPS training facility. Okay. For our 2019, just to give you an update, we were allotted at $7.5 million and also a $5 million budget for some vehicles. Where we're at today, 2.6 million of that was additional police officers. We've added positions to the roster. We do obviously have vacancies, and it did change our vacancies from 42 to 75. Our mandate class is 49 graduates March of this year, and then 50 is in process of being put together now. Our restructuring plan's been completed at 442,000 accountable items. Replacement, that's body armor, various things that we needed for accountable equipment. That's an ongoing process. Our in-car and body cams, where we're at, we've budgeted $3 million for that. The RFP process has been received. We're in the demo process right now, and then hopefully we'll be able to move forward with purchases and installations beginning in March of this year. Animal control vehicles have been ordered and awaiting delivery, and our recovered underfilled positions that we had underfilled for a couple of years have all been filled through the budget process. The vehicles have been ordered. We've ordered 40 SUVs and 9 Chargers, and we just have worked with the fleet to get the next order in place, and so those should be coming in throughout this year as well.
Yeah, Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Cupid.
Yes, Sam, can you help me understand the additional police officers and the filled additional positions?
Yes,
What
ma'am.
does
The
that
additional
yield?
police officers were the number of police officers we'd asked for additional officers. If you remember when we did the ICP study, their recommendation was hiring an additional 60 officers. This was approximately 23 of those positions that, of that 60 in our 5-year plan, if you will.
23 positions added for the top line item.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That was 23 positions, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then
And then the underfilled, what we had done previous years, if there was a position that was needed that was not funded, they would take basically take a vacancy, underfill it. And what we did with this budget was clean up all of those underfills. So we now have no underfilled positions at this time.
so they're
Just pure
filled?
vacancies.
So they're just, okay, I see
Yes,
what you're
ma'am.
saying. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, Sam. Sure.
What's our force now, how many, 600 something? Or
No, we're closer to 700 on sworn and around 100 on the non-sworn. Positions. Like I say, we're closer to 80 or so vacancies right now, but that's adding, if you add the 23 we just added, we were in the, as we always have been, and hence the reason the ICP report recommended the 60 additional. You're always going to have a fluctuating vacancy number there, and their number was somewhere around 60. Any other questions? Okay. I will, before I get into to the 20 budget, you guys on February 12th, I think, was the plan to bring forth the reserve funds. And so a lot of this budget is based on if those funds get approved, because there's quite a few things in there for the for public safety. Also, the E911 fund and revenues, as you know, are now regulated by the state of Georgia. So there's a big asterisk there until we start drawing money from them to see what that's actually going to be. I still have to base a budget on what our anticipated revenues are going to be. So I don't want you to think this is absolutely set in stone because there's some variables in there.
I've been promised that there'll be no impact.
Yes, sir. I'm not sure who promised you that, sir. No, just
Thanks for laughing with me.
So moving to the next. And keep in mind, our 911 is its own fund, our fire is its own fund. But a general fund doesn't impact public safety. It impacts the police department and our 800 megahertz. So this is going to, I'll go through each department, but this is kind of, if you look at this table and the FY19 was adopted, the FY20, we have proposed, if we just put flat there, I just moved those numbers over because we've been told it's a flat budget. So that's what we anticipated as proposed. And then your 20 required increases, this is what we anticipate as required, meaning we're needing those. And I know I'll go through it and give you justification on each one of those. And just so y'all know, if it's not funded in some form or fashion, then we get back to underfilling if it's positions that just absolutely have to be filled in some form or fashion.
But your plan would be to fund those with fund balance, the 3.9 million, if in an ideal world?
Either that or any savings that we may
Okay.
see
Yeah, good
throughout
point.
and I'll talk a little bit about that. But moving forward on the public safety administration side, what we're asking for is 2 building trades tech 3 positions and the annual maintenance, anticipated maintenance cost of the new training center and the new police headquarters. We do anticipate we'll get started on some of the build out of the training center this year. And then we do anticipate right now that getting into the 20 season budget year that the LGE building hopefully will come available and we'll be able to start doing some things there. Those are 2 really large buildings, and just as you can imagine here, with the number of folks that we have here in this building for maintenance, we're just asking for 1 in each one of those to begin with to get the things off the ground. But that would be for the people, the equipment that they would need, and it would also be for the anticipated annual maintenance and operating cost of those facilities, meaning power, utilities, and things of that nature. Questions, and you want to do each slide is a question? Okay. Commissioner Cupid, you got a puzzled look. You okay? All right. So that was all on the public safety piece. On the animal services, there's our mission statement for animal services. I'll let you read through that one. Okay, and our organizational chart there of animal services and the folks that we have out there, and that has changed a bit. As most of y'all know, Captain Owens was promoted to Major Owens, and so we've got an interim, Shanna Luke, working right now. But in our animal services budget for this year, asterisk again, there are some things in that reserve line items that's going to help us. So right now, we're not asking for any or see any required needs other than the flat budget that we just received. Also in emergency management, and our organizational charts are very small there, but obviously we utilize many of police, fire, 911 folks as needed as emergencies do come about, but it's a small group that keeps that shop running. Also, on their budget, I will tell you that there is no additional requirements in that one as well. Now, the next one is our E911. Oh, I'm sorry, our training center, sorry, hopped up. And there's no required, because we got that, basically meted out to each department to take care of the needs inside the training center, for some of the basic needs. You'll see some needs that we're gonna come across on the police training center, but no additional right now, just for the training center. And as you read the E911 fund, again, I'll remind you over and over, this is the big unknown right now until we start getting some money from the state. That could be as long, talking with finance, it could be as long as April before we really start seeing what those revenues are going to be looking like coming from the state. But again, we're basing this on what our needs are and what our anticipated revenues would hopefully be. All right. On the general fund side of E911, so keep in mind, E911 has its own fund, but there is the one division that's under E911, the 800 megahertz radio system, which includes our towers, and it comes out of general fund. And we would be asking for one radio system specialist in that, as well as a vehicle. As we continue to add towers to our system, it does increase the amount of workload that's on the folks that are there. And so we would be asking for the 20 budget to have one person for that, mainly because of the growth of the system itself. On the E911 fund, we're looking at a few things here. The big ticket item there is replacing the 911 phone and recording system. This is one of those that we're fingers crossed that the revenues will support this. If not, it could possibly have an impact on general fund or fund balance, because this is a system we can't just say we're going to put off. And so that's a biggie. And so we're hoping we need to add another zero there. I see that on capital, but and then replacing the primary center carpet. This may sound like not really needed, but this is a 24/7 operation that has not been replaced in 9 years, and it's due. So we do anticipate needing to do that. And then replacing our 911 pool vehicle and van that we're spending a lot of time in the shop on. So those are a couple of items on the E911 fund that we're hoping to get through. As far as personnel, there goes. Again, we had an outside consultant do a study, and they recommended an increase with a number of people. We were able to get a portion of that this past budget year, and we're trying to get another piece of it this coming in 20. And so you'll see that the 2 quality assurance specialists and then training quality assurance lead. We are an accredited agency. Each one of our public safety, police, fire, 911 are all accredited agencies. This is key in maintaining our accreditation as the accredited status. We don't want to give that up, and quality assurance is a big part of that.
Once we start getting, excuse me, Chairman, thank you. Once we start getting these requests from all the departments, I don't want to lose important information like that, and
Yes.
it's just not listed here.
Yes.
Because my concern is, when I look at all these requests, at some point we may have to rank them.
Yes, ma'am.
And so if there's anything that's critical, it'd be helpful if you can somehow communicate that.
Okay.
So it's remembered when we,
Yes, ma'am.
start reviewing.
And again, fingers are crossed that our revenue is going to come in. State has said it would be
Okay,
better than
yes, 'cause
before.
there is
but-
that separate fund for that. That's right. We're even at half.
And Commissioner Cupid, I did want to, a very good point that you made about prioritizing the needs, and in discussions with the chairman and the fund balance appropriation that'll be brought forward, we are going to provide kind of a ranked importance and what are going to be considered critical
Overall,
needs
okay.
for that agenda item on February 12th.
Okay. Sorry, the February 12th agenda item for this?
For the fund balance appropriation,
So
I'm
these
sorry.
Are these requests that you're bringing forward for us, are they for fund balance, or are they for the
And
budget?
there's not much in the reserve funds for 911 because it has its own budget, and we,
Yeah, irrespective of this one, because you were talking about some other requests. Is that for fund balance, or is that with respect to the next fiscal year?
The DPS and 800 megahertz is in response to to upcoming year, to the 20 budget.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. And which ones, do you have any beyond this that we're looking at for, well, this might come out of this fund. Do you have any requests that you've presented that are respect to the fund balance discussion that we're having?
Not positions, no,
Not
ma'am. That's
positions.
mainly equipment and
Just
things that we
equipment.
can
Okay.
possibly,
I-
particularly in animal services, ma'am, which is general fund. We got quite a few things in there that were listed for animal services that, so nothing's needed in that position.
Commissioner Burrow, you had a question?
How is the distribution with the state for E911 gonna work? Are they gonna give us monthly payments, an annual payment? And how are we gonna
Bill,
pay our people if we don't get it?
buddy?
If we're reimbursed or whatever, where's it gonna come out of?
I'll
to
tell
begin
you
with?
the way it's supposed to happen, from what I understand, is the 911 funds that used to come to the county now will go to the state.
Right,
They will divvy it up and then hand it back out. Now, they've increased the rate of their wireless prepaid, and hopefully that would offset any
Yeah, but
funds.
we did that anyhow on our own last year.
So
Yeah, but we did an increase of $1.50 on all of ours.
Right.
They're doing it on an additional prepaid wireless, which is, we
Okay.
have not been charged.
So Chairman, I would like to say that there's a rosy outlook. I will say this, the state provided a link for how the service providers could register for their account. And that registration opened up January 17th of 2019. Even though they took over, my understanding, effective January 1st. So right now, there's a big question mark. We're just waiting, and I don't expect that we'll see any kind of returns until probably end of first quarter to have an idea of how that money's gonna be coming in.
so what do we do with our budget till we get the funding? If it's not coming to us?
We'll rely on our existing, what money we do have in reserves, which I can tell you will not cover any of our capital requests. It will pretty much just cover operating for right now. And we'll kind of have to
For
play it by, we'll have to play
A
it by ear.
3-month period?
I know.
There's just a lot of unknowns right now that we have no control over.
Excuse me,
Our state
Legislators are working yet.
Destiny, is it intended that this fund is gonna cover your capital requests?
So our capital cost with respect to the 2.5 million that was asked for the phone replacement, if we were to make that purchase, it would wipe us out completely. So that's why we're putting it out there, that we just don't know right now if we're going to have to be supplemented by the general fund until we start seeing really what the state's how they're gonna follow through with their promises.
But under the old system, did we have that money?
We had that money, but as our organization has grown and salaries have increased, consistent with the market, it was getting tighter. Previously, we could have made some of the capital improvements based on our budget, but at this point, there's just a lot of unknowns. There's also the trends where we're getting away from landlines, which before were very stable. Now we're starting to get away from wireless and moving more towards prepaid. So there's so many changes in the industry that it's making it difficult to make long-term projections on where our income will come from.
Wouldn't that be a candidate for the fund balance?
It could be,
For the
yeah.
phone system?
But $2.5 million is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and unfortunately, it's critical infrastructure, it's reached end of life, and right now it's working until it doesn't work, and we just don't want to put ourselves in a position where we ever have a system-wide failure, but we are completely at end of life right now for that technology.
So you can't even wait till the next splost.
No, sir, I would not recommend doing that. Just some of the notes that I have. Currently, the servers that we have in place for our phone recording systems have processed nearly 5 million phone calls. As the technology changes, currently right now, we have numerous abandoned phone calls, which is where someone makes a 911 call and hangs up or disconnects, whether involuntarily or voluntarily, and we have to call them back. Currently, that's averaging 25 to 30,000 per year. New technology is in place now that would have an automated callback, which would take that burden off of our operators. We're also experiencing problems with our current recording system, as Commissioner Cupid can attest to. She made a request last year for some open records request information, and the vendor had lost that information due to a system glitch and was not able to recover it, which obviously put us in an odd position to try to explain why we cannot produce that data. That's been ongoing problems with this vendor, and so we're currently looking at other vendors to step in and replace that. But again, it's a large capital expenditure. And it will take up to 6 months from the time that we're approved for the expense to get the advertisement out there and approve the process, order it, and have it in place.
So just couldn't take it out of Sharon's budget?
If Sharon has the money, we would be happy to work it out with her.
I'm just checking to see if she's still here. All right.
Me, Chairman or
Sure.
Rob or Buddy, how much do we have in this fund balance?
It's about 16 million, right? Yeah.
No, for the E911 fund. it's
No, no, for the whole fund
For the
balance.
whole fund balance?
Oh, off the top of my head, sir, I'm not.
It's
certain,
somewhere
but
around
what we
there.
have.
Yeah, it's
you know,
somewhere around
16.
Roughly $16 million,
Yes,
Yeah, somewhere
Commissioner.
around there. Yeah, like I said this morning, the fund's about to begin.
Yeah, but E911 would be much less.
Much less.
And I know you want all of it, but you can't have it.
Putting it out there, sure, what we need, what our needs are.
Well, that's why we have these discussions, so all the commissioners see what they are, and it allows you to, you know, all the requests are reasonable, there's no question about it, so. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you.
So needless to say, there's a variable there, and I'll just move on from that one. On our police will be the next, and their mission statement. And as you know, the police and fire are two largest departments we have, both around 800 each. And so their organizational chart is going to be a little more detailed.
He's a busy guy.
Crime Analyst Coordinator, that's one person?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Crime Analyst Coordinator,
And what was your question?
that's one person?
Yes.
What do they do?
Work their butts off.
Is that a technical term?
Yes.
Just,
Come on up here, man.
they're the ones that provide the monthly.
It's a
Look, you
growing
gotta look
unit.
tired, come on now, you gotta slump over the microphone here.
Our crime analyst is a growing unit. That's an area we're trying to grow with GIS and crime analysis to get a better track on what type of incidents are occurring where and maybe where they might be
Yes.
occurring next. Right now, that is one person
I
coordinating.
cannot
We're
believe
working to
that.
fill additional positions that she will supervise, but that's what it is. It's graphic mapping and analyzing crime data.
They prepared the,
Is there a person, I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry, go ahead,
Chairman.
no, go ahead.
Is there a person within each precinct that does this at the precinct level, and this is done broadly?
This is done broadly out of our major crimes or Special Investigation and Response Command. It's done countywide.
This person does it countywide?
Correct. Now, the overall chief's plan, as it's fully developed, is that as there's additional crime analysts underneath the crime analyst coordinator, they would be divided up into county.
But you don't have that yet.
We're not there yet.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Captain, Commissioner, part of the 23 that Chief asked for, was there a couple of crime analysts in that position?
I believe there is, and a GIS
So,
specialist
Yeah, he's
also.
trying to build that because it's key.
Is that person responsible for putting together that weekly briefing that the chief does with all the statistics and? all
Yes,
right,
sir. She
yeah,
puts
okay.
together that each week for all the commanders where
Right.
we have our meeting and go over all
Okay,
the
I just want to
events.
make sure, yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty comprehensive, but again, you got a great point. It's just a lot of moving pieces for one person.
And then the final deputy chief forward. So on the police, for the 20 budget, maintenance contracts, we'll be looking at 133 additional funds. This has been an area that we've been underfunded for a few years, and we're having to make that up through other areas that we've been fortunate to find savings in. Last year or so, it's been fuel cost. We've had enough savings to pick that up. Some of the capital expenses for the new training center, and in that we're talking about new driver simulators, padding and stuff for the defensive tactic rooms, and fitness equipment there. It's a new training center. And then police motorcycles, as you can see on the bottom side has the justification, but our total of 13 that are out of date. And what we have in that reserve fund, just so you know, is about half of them in it and half of them here. So that's another point where the reserve fund doesn't pass. And then the reserve officers, number 4 is reserve officers part-time. And what we're trying to do there is do security here at 100 Cherokee and working with the SO to complete the piece down here. And Chief has worked a way we could possibly do that with some of our reserve officers, which are part-time versus trying to go full-time, which costs, obviously, with benefits and whatnot. Yes, ma'am.
No, I appreciate you addressing that. So will we be providing security on our own, or will the sheriff's office also be supplementing with his
So
team?
from what we're working with Chief Beck, Chief Warren, obviously they have some staffing issues as well. So we're working the team together to make that happen. I will tell you the date that Chief Register has given me and the county manager is February 4th. We will have officers here. I'm not sure the SO piece will be there that quick to get the equipment and everything, but in February, we will be putting all of that together. But February 4th, you will have officers down here.
Okay, great.
From that point forward.
Thank you.
And we'll be working to fill those positions. Again, just being honest with you, these are things that we really need to do. And if we don't get the funding through the budget, then we will have to underfill positions again, which I'd really prefer not going into a new budget year underfilling again. But and then the last one there is staffing mini precinct that we've talked about, and administrative specialists and whatnot there. So, so that's our personnel operating and capital piece for the police department. Again, obviously there's budget. Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yep.
So there won't be any sheriff officers, deputies?
From what we have right now, Commissioner, it will be a couple of county police officers and one SO that will be working this down here. Again, there may be one day you have all 3 county police. It may be one day we have 2 SO. We're going to tag team it to get the security that we need here. That's been directed of us.
But we're budgeting 5 part-time?
Those are part-times, yes, ma'am. It's usually cheaper to go the part-time reserve officers without the benefits and I think what the chief's trying to do.
3 full-time are already in the budget.
Are we talking about for currently?
Yeah. But is this for 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
But if we're starting February 4th.
We will be underfilling vacancies until we would
From
hopefully
just
get
the
this into the
police?
budget for 2020.
From just the police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, just being honest, the chances of us getting all 70 vacancies filled this year before the 20 budget hits is very unlikely, so we think we can do that.
Like I tell people, I could give you $1 billion, you still gotta find people to qualify. And our standards are so high that,
Yes, sir.
you know, and we're not lowering our standards. That's just the bottom line.
Correct.
Not on public safety.
No, I'm not asking.
No, I know, I'm just saying that, not your point about
Yeah.
people out there understand, well, why don't you just fill positions? Because our standards are so high. And in today's world, we just have to have highly qualified public safety officials. That's all there's to it.
And then for number 5,
Yes, ma'am.
is this just for staffing, or is it a new building, or?
No, ma'am, that's just for the staffing aspect of it. And what we're trying to do there is like a storefront that would allow for an officer to be there. We're trying for like an 8 to 8 time period. That may fluctuate. We're really trying to build what that concept would look like right now. But that's kind of where we're headed.
For 2020?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we could get started earlier, very much like we're talking about here with the security. We would get started earlier.
Okay, but where are they gonna go? It's on Riverside Drive. What is there now?
We are currently negotiating, working with Eddie and his team on a site on Riverside Parkway.
That we would buy or lease?
It would be a lease.
Okay. And where is that amount in the budget? Or in the?
Well, that's
It's
what
in
we
the
would-
2019 budget.
That's yes. We would, and what we'd ask for is that would continue through the 20 budget.
But there's no amount. That's personnel,
Right.
177.
That's just a continuation to fill out that office. To bring in 100%, that's what it would cost, all right? But right now, to meet the budget that we passed in 2019, we're gonna have an office down there with people, and Sam and Chief Register that worked with Rob and Commissioner Cupid to meet that objective, and we've got an agreement on that. But that was all in the 2019 budget.
I still don't answer my question of where, is it coming out of general fund? Is it a SPOS
No, ma'am, it's a
project?
general fund.
General fund.
It's general fund.
For the lease, once we find a spot?
Correct.
And Commissioner Burrow, I think to answer your question, we anticipate, excuse me, we anticipate the yearly lease cost to be approximately $30,000 a year.
We're doing everything on a shoestring here, and I recognize that, it seems like when we plus up public safety by $15 million, it seems like a lot, but we had to split that between the sheriff and the police. And then the other part was, of course, what is it I could get to get 3 votes? So, that's called politics. Would we want more? Of course we'd want more, all right? But the bottom line is, we've made a start. And once we see the success of that one, I'm sure we'll work with you on your mini precinct. So, I hear all your
That
needs.
was never
I'm just
discussed
trying to
in the
find a way.
budget.
I'm sorry?
That wasn't in the budget.
It was in the budget. It was in the budget. I'm gonna say right here,
Was
the mini precinct was always in the budget. Yes, it was. And it's a separate line item. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do it. Money wouldn't be there. I'd have to go and ask extra money
I
for
have
it.
a precinct
Well,
6 on the SPOS list from 3 years ago, so I'm just saying, where are we getting the money to do this? I wasn't aware that there was another precinct or mini precinct anywhere in the
well,
budget.
like I said, there's a lot of moving pieces in the budget, but this is all part of my effort to work with commissioners to get 3 votes. And one of them I agreed to was to work with Commissioner Cupid, put a mini precinct down in precinct 2. I'm willing to work with you for precinct 3 for next year,
6.
all right? So,
Precinct 6.
that's right. No, that's the truth.
see the operational thoughts, you have to support a budget that produces operational thoughts.
So, but we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be, no, look, I'm the only guy that says we're gonna be okay. I don't, either I'm drinking some special Kool-Aid or I really believe it, or both. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna find a way to do this, because we did last year and we will next year. Because I'm fully confident that the economy is gonna continue to do great things, and that'll give us the ability to do that. And working with the commissioners, we'll find a way to ultimately meet their objectives over a 3 to 5 year timeframe. We can't fix it all in 1 year because, as much as I'd love to have a higher millage rate, I have to propose a millage rate that I know will pass, that will get the 3 votes. So we're gonna be okay. All right, Sam.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you.
All right, the budget, again, I won't beat it up too bad, but there are a lot of variables here that we'll have to work through over this, as the chairman had said in our meeting, it is kind of a living document. It'll fluctuate over the next few months until we get it all hemmed in. Our fire fund, there's their mission statement. And as you know, the Safety Village went back under the fire fund. That was to help with the funding and also with their ISO rating.
And they also have the foundation.
They do, yes, ma'am. And then their organizational chart, if you can read that. We got it broken out just a little bit more, so that's.
Could you break it down by truck?
There you go. I'll let you go at your speed.
So how many battalions do you have?
We
Sam?
have 5 battalions.
5 battalions?
Same as
Okay.
precincts.
Oh, okay.
5 precincts, 5 battalions.
Then do those areas overlap the same police precincts? Sorta, kind of?
They do not line up just right, no,
Okay.
sir. And obviously, they don't line up perfectly with the districts.
No, well,
either,
that we know,
but,
yeah, yeah.
No, they,
Do I have a battalion in my district?
Yeah, I think you do, yeah. Somewhere probably, close enough.
I don't know.
I think we're at that stage, Sam, where if you just moved on the box, onto the next one, we'll be
yes,
okay.
yes, sir. Yes. Mhm.
I really
And-
appreciate the commissioners hanging in as long as they have.
I know, okay. So the fire fund now, to put you all at ease, the fire fund itself, I mean, based on the anticipated revenues, they are good with the millage rate that has been set for them. So these things, you'll see the cost, but it is sustainable in their current millage rate. So, but the items that we'll be needing FY '20, Station 31 personnel. Station 31 is the airport fire station that we'd be looking at putting into place in '20. The Mystic Fire Station 29 personnel. We're optimistic that we're gonna get some property this year. And some additional personnel for training data tech and fire inspectors there in 2020. The number 4 was, best way there was a mistake made, the 9-hour guaranteed overtime, and when I say 9-hour guaranteed overtime for firefighters is a state FLSA rule or federal FLSA rule that guarantees after a certain number of hours firefighter works, it's overtime. That's figured in. The way the county does it here is it's a guaranteed 9-hour overtime if you reach a certain capacity number. Last year, unfortunately, by error, it was not put in the budget, so that's being put back in the budget. Now, it wasn't put in the budget, so the fire fund had to sustain that for 19 because of an error. But that came out of their fund balance this year. And then personal protective gear that was not put in the 19 budget will be put in for the 20 budget as well. So their $3.9 million again is a sustainable budget that the fire fund will be able to absorb. On their capital items, you'll see each one, Fire Station 31, Station 29, and 7 are the incremental cost. If you remember, our SPLOST cost didn't cover the amount that was needed, so we took that from the fund balance. If there's leftovers, we would be asking for that back in the fire fund, but Station 1, the FFE funding in excess of the SPLOST. specialty equipment, engines, trucks, they're rotating numbers there. New hazmat squad, BLS, the QRV is a quick response vehicle. Instead of having a big fire truck go, they put a smaller unit that can respond quicker, and they may use it posted in certain locations. And then equipment and software, and then ongoing facility renovations for a total of, now that's their capital, 14 million, and that does come from their fund balance that they have. If I'm correct on that. And that's my report, sir.
Any questions? Thanks, Sam.
All
Good
right,
job.
Thank you.
And with that, we're adjourned.